Good Saturday afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again during this 3 o'clock hour. I am Debbie Smith. My husband Edward and I are the co-directors or co-coordinators of Family Life Ministries here at COTO, Church of the Oranges. And you know that we meet you here every single Saturday at 3 p.m. And today is the second Sabbath of the month. So you know what that means. It's all about women's ministry. And I am so excited today to have a very special guest with us. Herlin Raphael is a woman of God. She's a friend of mine. She's an incredible mother, incredible wife. And we're so honored to just have her here with us for a few moments. So I'm going to read Herlin's bio, and then we're going to go right into our discussion. So Herlin Raphael is a board-certified adult gerontology nurse practitioner, a wellness coach, and a doctorate candidate in lifestyle medicine with over 20 years of critical care nursing. Ultimately, her goal is to incorporate evidence-based lifestyle modalities, which includes whole food, plant-based regimen, exercise, sleep, hygiene, spirituality, and mindfulness for prevention, treatment, and the reversal of chronic diseases related to lifestyle and behaviors. Living by faith that it's great to receive, but it's even better to give, Raphael coupled her medical training with her passion to help the helpless through education, healthy living, and community leadership. So in addition to all of this, Hurleen is the founder of Bix Homes and Wellness Center in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And Bix is an integrated wellness center that combines East and West treatment modalities. This holistic approach ensures the best level of care while optimizing your best self from the inside out. Their purpose is to promote patient quality of life and overall well-being. Their mission is to provide health education and share research-based best practices to help you move toward a healthier lifestyle. In addition, Hurleen is also the founder and executive director of Helping Hands and Beyond, a 501c3 organization. And she assisted with opening a medical wellness clinic in Haiti, providing primary care, disease management, health education, and prevention to the poor and impoverished. She also leads and coordinates medical missions to disaster areas, bringing hope and access to care to the underserved and impoverished in Haiti, Africa, and the Caribbean. And for those of you who don't know, I am a Spice Island girl born in Grenada, and Hurleen has done several mission trips to the island of Grenada. In this capacity, she has achieved one of her proudest achievements to date with the opening of a 12-bed girls' orphanage, La Maison. You're going to have to tell me how to pronounce it.
D'accueil, la maison d'accueil.
La Maison d'accueil.
Good job.
Hurleen earned a Master's of Science from St. Peter's University and a Bachelor's of Science from the State University at Binghamton in nursing. She holds she's a doctorate of nursing candidate in lifestyle medicine from Southern Adventist University. She is married and she has 3 beautiful children. Hurleen travels to Haiti at least 3 times a year for medical mission trips. Her passion for service has brought her to the Bahamas, Grenada, the Spice Island, Sierra Leone, Africa, and St. Kitts. Her most recent medical missionary endeavor was a responder for Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas in 2019. Raphael prides herself on being a lifelong learner. She seeks adventure and growth and aims to spread love, kindness, and peace to all she encounters. Hurleen, welcome, welcome, welcome to COTO's platform. We are so excited to have you here. And you know, your Haitian brother, my husband, he usually lets me do the women's piece all by myself, but you know, he sends his Haitian regards to his Haitian sister.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you so much. And
Uh,
Ed, it's a pleasure. Oh, really, really, really nice pleasure to be here this evening, this afternoon with you all. Ladies of COTO, good afternoon. Good morning if you're watching from somewhere else, other parts of the world. I like to do all the greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good night.
cover
with
all the bases.
all the bases, because with Zoom world, you never know where someone might be watching or listening or tuning in. It is indeed a privilege. Thank you so much for having me. I am beyond excited. The joy of participating, the stories of health and wellness is definitely my area of passion. I enjoy sharing just our overall health experience and how do we grow and balance that out so that we can truly achieve our work for God. If the body is not maintained, we will struggle. We will struggle for us to achieve that. With that said, I'm going to start with a quick word of prayer and then we're going to get right started, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely.
Dear Father, it is such a privilege to be in your presence again. Thank you for the women of COTO. Thank you for Sister Debbie and Family Life Ministries. Lord, I pray that you will erase in us, remove in us anything that is not of you, and let your name be uplifted and magnified in all that we do. Help us, dear Lord, to emulate your will, your love, your grace. In Jesus we pray, amen.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful. So why don't you just start by telling our audience, our viewers, our listeners, a little more about you. I read all of your accolades and your titles and your, degrees, but tell us about Hurleen Raphael.
Oh gosh, no accolades. Save those. Save those. Yeah, my best accolade is of course, the family values and tying it all in with growing. I am a native of Haiti, of course. You've already shared that. My Haitian brother, Eddie, native of Haiti. I was born in a small little town called Hench. We're about, I want to say, 2 to 3 hours away from the capital of Port-au-Prince. When I was about 5 years old, my family, we migrated here into the United States. We landed in New York, upstate New York, in a little town called Nyack. The pioneer of the family is my great aunt, to whom I owe everything to, which my great aunt is my father's sister, oldest sister. My great aunt was the first one that left Haiti and said, my whole family's coming over. And she really did, pioneered and worked hard and brought us all here for a better life. So I grew up in Rockland County. I am Seventh-day Adventist. I grew up in the Word. I grew up in the Pathfinders. I grew up doing community service. I grew up helping the elderly, doing all the fun stuff that we do as young people in the church for community service. And so my passion for health really didn't blossom until my senior year in high school. We started volunteering at for the elderly in their home, and cleaning their house and doing their laundry. And our pastor at that time decided to recruit a few of us. Somebody has to go to Oakwood. Somebody from the senior class has to go to Oakwood. And so recruited a group of us. We ended up doing the Adventist college tours. I went to Oakwood and I said, well, I want to be a physical therapist. Maybe that's probably the niche that I wanted to really explore at that time. I don't know why physical therapy, but that was what clicked with me at that time. So we ended up in, I ended up in a physical therapy program, which there's something about it that didn't click, something about it that didn't match with me. I enjoyed the anatomy courses. I enjoyed the biology courses because, I'm new to all this, but there was something about the lab part that just didn't click. And then so over the summer, I came home. I got myself a little job at the hospital as a nurse's aide. And that was the light bulb moment.
That was it.
That was it. That was the light bulb moment. The nurses were instrumental in mentoring me and teaching me and connecting with the patients, holding their hands. And there's one thing you probably know about me. I am a hummer. And my job at night was for me to do the bed baths for the patients. And you imagine me humming away my little hymns and bathing the patients at night and really just tucking them in, powdering them in, catering them in. I fell in love with nursing immediately, Deb. And so I remember vividly. Now, I don't want to go into my career path, but I love to share this for any young person listening to this. I remember vividly, there was one particular patient that had a respiratory arrest. I was on a ventilator for weeks on. And you imagine working 5 days a week, doing your bed bath and humming to this person, what happens, right? Because you can hear your senses, your listening sense is the last one to go. And so when this gentleman came out of this coma, he said, I want to meet that girl that hummed to me every night. I want to meet her. She kept me alive. And this young woman needs to know this. And she needs to know that this is a career, a passion, a road that she needs to continue on her path. And lo and behold, this young man, this gentleman, I still remember his name, this patient asked for me. My manager, they sought me, and I met with this young man and wrote the letters of recommendations. This is your passion. Your singing kept me alive.
Wow.
Said to me. And that was my journey. That was my journey to nursing. From there, I stayed home. I didn't go back to Oakwood, by the way. I didn't go back to Oakwood. I transferred to Binghamton University, upstate New York, got into the nursing program, and here I am. And the Lord has opened his doors for us, for my career, my career in nursing, not only in the hospital in critical care, which I've been involved in since I was 17. I've been in critical care since I was 17. Trauma ICU has been my background. But also in the church, I've always been a parish nurse, a community parish nurse, and just really taking care of the community and my elderly, which I absolutely love very much. As you know, my studying, my research for my master's was in adult gerontology. So I'm very passionate about the elderly. And so then you'll say, where did the holistic part come from? Well, that was another journey. Again, native of Haiti. We're used to the bush, right? Bush medicine. Everybody knows bush medicine. You have a stomach ache, Cerecity.
Yeah.
You have a fever, Cerecity. Wait, you have a boil, go get some more Cerecity.
Listen, I think in the Caribbean, tea cures everything. Hot tea. Bush tea.
Bush tea, get a bush. Do you have toothache? You'll get some what do you call clove tea, get some garlic tea. You have a stomach ache. So the holistic part, of course, this is what we grew up on. Wait, it gets better. You have any aches? Get the castor oil. Your hair falling out, get the castor oil. And so growing up, in a Haitian household, we know that alternative medicine was really it, especially with poverty, right? Especially if you couldn't afford to go to the doctor. If you couldn't afford to go to the doctor, you're getting all your remedies done at home. If you had a sprain, they made a hat pack with cornmeal and wrap that bad boy. They made a cast at home with something to immobilize that sprain so that you can heal. And it worked, Deb. It worked. It worked because I travel to Haiti and I see it being done all the time and it's still working. So I developed a passion for holistic medicine. And so 15 years ago now, my daughter Berlin, you know very well, was BB severely asthmatic. She was severely asthmatic when she was 2 years old. We were 6 seconds shy of intubating her, putting her on life support because her asthma was so out of control. I looked at the doctor. I said, we're going to have to figure something else out because she's not getting tubed today. I prayed. I said, Lord, this is it. We need something. I need something. I need you to reveal to me what I need to do for Berlin to get well. I remember this. We got discharged from the hospital. Next day was Wednesday night. I went to Wednesday night prayer meeting. I brought Berlin to the altar. I said, Lord, they gave her Heliox in the emergency room to help her. I said, I'm going to be on it. I'll stay on it. I'll take care of her at home. We're not going to tube her. Next day, I brought her to the church, and the Holy Spirit revealed to me a woman that said, you might want to consider some form of holistic treatments for her. I said, tell me more. She said, well, there's this doctor in New York that's that's an alternative physician. You might want to consider a consult with this physician. I said, okay. Went onto the website, Deb, and I researched everything, all the modalities that this doctor was prescribing. And the first light bulb moment was get rid of the dairy. Eliminate every single dairy product in her life. At that time, I'm telling you, I was desperate. I eliminated every dairy product. I eliminated every meat, every cheese, every yogurt, everything you can imagine, I got rid of.
Wow.
And there was the journey. There was my holistic journey. And from there on, the learning, you couldn't stop me.
Yeah.
You couldn't stop me from learning. You couldn't stop me from growing because now we started incorporating just natural remedies for her to get better. So 15 years later now, I am a huge pusher of alternative holistic regimen to reverse lifestyles. And really there's more we can tell, but I don't have all day, right?
No, but I think that's a good place for us to kind of land for right now. And I just a quick question.
Sure.
So you're a big proponent of holistic and alternative medicine. And do you use that in combination with the traditional medicines, or are you of the belief to come off of the traditional medicines and use holistic? Or
Yeah, excellent question. I 100% believe that traditional medicine has its place. So I'll give you two examples, right? In my practice, if I have a patient that comes to me and have a blood pressure of 220 over 110, I am not going to send you home on celery.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's an emergency, right? And I think that's part of having that acute training, right? Having that acute training background is that I'm able to assess an acute situation and do what we call conjunction therapy. And what the conjunction therapy is, we start out with the traditional to help mobilize or mitigate the emergency symptom, the emergent symptoms. So the 220 over 110, we want to mitigate that blood pressure. We want to use both entities to bring that pressure down together safely. Because it would not be safe for me to allow you to leave my office with a blood pressure of 220. Yeah. So I will give you a little support with a low pressor or with some form of medication to help that. At the same time now, we sit down together, we do the whole education piece of what do we need to do immediately at home to trigger those behaviors to start working on lowering that blood pressure. So we still incorporate the celery if we need to. We incorporate the parsley if we need to. We incorporate the walking, of course. We eliminate the salt. We do everything that we need to do naturally, immediately, while mitigating that emergent symptom. Same thing if you came in with an asthma attack. You came in with an asthma attack. Absolutely. I do believe in turmeric. I believe in the eucalyptus. I believe in all the oils and diffuser and everything else. But if you can't breathe at that time, a little bit of nebulizer, and if you need the steroid because your throat is closing, I will prescribe the steroid. And then we wean you off the steroid so we can lead towards those holistic modalities, those behaviors, teach you those behaviors to mitigate your symptoms. Vacuuming, get rid of the carpet, looking at your diet, get rid of the dairy, doing all those different things so that we can stay within the modalities of holistic.
Awesome. Awesome. So, it's Women's History Month. It's, and this month, Family Life is focused on health. And so I thought it was just a great time to bring you on to talk about women's health specifically. So as a woman who's now in my 40s, our bodies change, our needs change. So talk to me a little bit about, the transition from, the care that maybe a teenage female might need into how that progresses, in your 20s and your 30s. What do you need to now incorporate into those annual exams and annual visits, and how health changes for us as we grow older as women?
Great question. That really, it's something that we don't talk about a lot, unfortunately. So that's the first point that I want to share. I find that we, especially as women, not only do we have the social barrier, and that is a lot more than I would find that a lot more in the third world or socioeconomic background, lower socioeconomic background, where we have the social barriers, we have the socioeconomic barriers, we have lack of resources, lack of information. All of those barriers can prevent women from truly going to the doctor or going to a provider or practitioner to get their health in order. And then we have stigmas. Stigmas also can create the barrier. But it is important. It's an important factor. And, the research is showing that wellness and annual wellness is important for all ages of women. From the younger generation, we're talking about from 13 to 18, these young women, we need to also screen them for high cholesterol. We need to screen them for high blood pressure. At that age, we're looking at eating disorders. A lot of our young women at that age, they're struggling big time with eating disorders because they need to maintain that physique.
Yeah. Wait, we need to watch our girlish figure, which ain't so girlish anymore.
Right? We need to watch our girls' figure because, okay, well, I don't want to gain too much weight. So I'm going to practice bulimia. I'm going to eat and regurgitate afterwards. Be careful because that is among our girls as well. And then I'm only going to eat 600 to 800 calories per day because I need to watch that physique. And then that leads to some form of nutritional depletion. And, we need the nutrition so that we can have growth and development, for bones formation, for tissue repair, for immunity. We need that overall nutrition for it to be intact. So young women, 13 to 18, again, are struggling with eating disorders, struggling with substance abuse disorder. Should I try it? Should I not try it? We're looking at, again, now they're exploring sexual activities. So that annual pap smear becomes important, a conversation to have. So when when the young women 13 to 18, when you come into my office, we're talking about all those things, check marks we just mentioned. We're doing the basic blood work. We're checking for anemias, deficiency in those red blood cells. We're looking for deficiency and those chemistries or the electrolytes in order. We're talking about eating disorder. And if we can't go directly into the question, I'd like to hear about your diary. Tell me about your eating pattern.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you could ask the question, they're like, they're weave and bob you. So they don't answer the question. And then we talk about depression. We talk about the mental health. So these are some of the screenings that we talk about. And as well as the vaccines. Now, if you're a vaccine, everybody has a choice. If the family or the mom, a parent want to discuss vaccines, we talk about vaccines and health related tips. And then we're heading towards the 19 to the 39-year-olds. That's heading towards our age, Deb, because we're forever 21, right?
Yeah.
We're forever 21. And so importantly, for the forever 21s, our age, we want to really focus, again, those wellness check, those few things that we mentioned earlier. But again, the gynecological annual or biannual assessments become very important, considering polycystic ovarian cysts, fibroids, infertility, pelvic issues become a problem. So again, those sexual reproductive organs become really important. And we're finding that there's also a stigma. A lot of women, they don't want to talk about their sexuality. They don't want to talk about their annual exams, especially a lot of our women from the islands. Will be surprised. The islands and the African nations, they will not share their sexual experience. They have a hard time with their pap smears or staying on top of their pap smears. Or then they'll tell you, if I don't know, it won't hurt.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Deb, yeah. And here's my thing. Early detection, put that in quotes if somebody's taking notes, early detection, early treatment, better outcome, better recovery. The earlier we know, the better it is. And at that age also, when we're hitting 39, at 40, we need to start thinking about a baseline mammogram or breast exam or ultrasound. So when we're thinking about overall health for our age, of course, hopefully by that time, we're not bulimic, but we still have to now monitor because the hormones are shifting now. The hormones are shifting, and hormones has a lot to do with weight gain. Hormones has a lot to do with our mood, our depressed mood, anxiety. And then we're thinking now we're in the career path. We're very busy. We're working so much that we forget to eat properly. We're grabbing what we can get a hold of. So our nutrition is not really up to par. Our sleep pattern is flaky. We're not sleeping so well. She's shaking her head. Somebody sounds guilty, right? And forget it. We're so busy that physical activity becomes almost a nuisance for half of us because we don't have the time. Yeah, we don't have the time, and we don't have the motivation because half of the time we're tired. And so we want to look at all those areas for us to make sure that the cholesterol's up to par. So those annual exam, again, cholesterol's okay. Looking at those red cells, the chemistries. We're looking at your thyroid function, making sure that the thyroid is okay. The hormones are working okay. And there's a lot more studies that we can do, but to maintain that, this is what we need to look at, again, annually. Then we look at the 40 to 64-year-olds. 40 to 64-year-olds, you're heading towards the young at hearts. Again, still everything else that I just mentioned, and then more for, especially now with the 60s, your postmenopausal. Again, the hormones have depleted. We're heading towards menopause. We're now dealing with safety, a lot of safety issues. We're talking about good proper levels of nutrition with calcium to protect those bones, vitamin D, again, to protect the bones. We want to make sure that 64, we're still up to par with our vaginal exams and our pap smears, making sure that we are up to date with our colonoscopies, because we're, again, another area we don't talk about, if we're having terrible bowel patterns, whether we have chronic constipation, chronic diarrhea, or indigestions, and anything GI you might want to consider that's chronic. At the age of 50, we like to encourage our women to really start considering a baseline colonoscopy, to look at the colon, to make sure that the colon is healthy. Again, colonoscopy is a big deal, especially for our culture again, because most people would say the prep is terrible. Yes, the prep is terrible, but it's also worse now if there's a polyp sitting somewhere in the colon, and the polyp is turning into and brewing into something that could have been prevented. Again, early detection.
Wow.
And that colonoscopy helps us with detecting those polyps early on, to remove them. And if we need to do push more aggressive lifestyle behaviors to help prevent those polyps in the future, it gives us that ability to do that as well. Because if the polyp stays there, it turns into a tumor. It turns into a cancer. So that colonoscopy is important. And then at that age, we're looking at polypharmacy. What is polypharmacy? A lot of medicines, because now we're not taking care of ourselves. We're on 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of medicine. We're on 2, 3 different pills for high blood pressure. We have another one for the cholesterol. Oh my goodness, then we have another one because the bladder's weak and we have incontinence. And so polypharmacy, or what we call side effects of medications, become a tremendous problem. So we want to mitigate those issues so that we can shrink the medicines a bit if we need to, or eliminate if we have to. And then the 65 plus, again, our young and heart, we talk about now immunity, because now their immune system is much lower. So we're looking at chronic respiratory issues. We're looking at the chronic illnesses, again, diversity of chronic illnesses, from diabetes to high blood pressure. It could be high cholesterol. There may be an issue with a stroke. So there could be an issue with safety. Dementia, Alzheimer's, right? At that age, we start screening for forgetfulness, for dementia. We're looking at osteoporosis. We're really considering osteoporosis because our women, especially, they have weaker bones because of the hormones. We have weaker bones, and the density of our bones becomes so brittle with the osteoporosis that there's a higher chance of falling and fracturing. And secondary to fracture, there is, again, issues with immobility, and you know how that goes, right? And then sexual abuse for these elderly women in the home. They still are dealing with sexual abuse and unintentional abusive behaviors. Because if they are demented, if they're a little challenging, sometimes if the care provider is not up to par with knowing and learning the modalities of these elderly, it can create frustration, and frustration at times create care provider abuse.
Wow.
And so overall, we need to look at the body. And when I say overall, what can we do as women to keep that body intact? And, the term overall wellness, overall health and wellness, is looking at the physical, the social, the spiritual, to see how we can maintain that balance between those areas.
Yeah.
That's just a short summary.
Yeah, you said a whole lot. I want to go back to a certain age group because, it's the area that affects me the most. But I want to talk about pre-menopause. When I was 20 something and 30, we were not told what to expect with the changing ages and the changing bodies and the changing hormones. So talk a little bit about that pre-menopause period, the changes that our bodies go through, and then some ways that we can mitigate some of those symptoms that we might be experiencing.
Oh, well, good point. I tell you, I think I started experiencing, wait.
We're not going to talk about, no.
I started doing this
all day.
I started doing this a while ago. I got to tell you, I felt the changes when I started, I think 39. I wasn't sure. And the reason why I said I wasn't sure is because I started feeling the changes at about 39. And I was just, what's happening to me? I was much more irritable. It's like worse than PMSing. So if you could think of PMS, of course you get, every once in a while you get a raging amount of hormones, or you get a little bit of hormones, because you have periods where you have an increase of estrogen and you have periods where you have very little. So we'll talk about both, what happens in those areas. So then you experience hot flashes, you experience breast tenderness, irritability, restlessness, sweats, fatigue, increased fatigue. Oh my goodness. It's as if I've been hit by a truck. When we're talking about, so if you're looking at pre or perimenopausal, we're talking about during your men's cycle, about a week before your men's cycle, you start to experience these symptoms. Again, breast tenderness and fatigue. It's like the truck hit you. What's going on? All I want to do is sleep. I'm not motivated. I can't move. I can't function. And then we're eating galore, grazing every 2 seconds. Something has to be, it's like we're emotional eaters. Something has to be in the mouth for us to just stimulate something. I don't know what we're stimulating, but we're constant eaters. Irregular periods. So at that time, you could find that you have 3 days versus 2 days, and then it doesn't come at all. It doesn't show up at all. Or then you could have a whole 7-day of heavy cycle. And again, it all depends. Vaginal dryness, or you could have, at that time, you could have increased discomfort of vaginal discomfort, like yeast. You could be prone to yeast, especially if you have issues with diabetes. You will find that during that period, your immune system depletes. So you're much more susceptible to colds, again, yeast infections, name it, you're susceptible to it. And then you'll find that even some urgencies, urinary urgency, you're finding that it's difficult for you to now do your Kegels, to hold on. If you have to go to the bathroom, gotta go right now. I cannot hold it. I got to go. So these are some of the changes. And then weight gain. Weight gain becomes another change. And so how do you mitigate those symptoms? How do you mitigate
tell us. Take some notes.
What can I do? Number one, again, it's nutrition. You will find that I target everything with the number one, nutrition. Let food be your medicine, Hippocrates said. Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Or I'm going to take it as far back as Daniel said it. Let's keep it really simple. Daniel said, let's keep it simple, but let's even go back to the Garden of Eden. Let's keep it real simple. The more simple we can keep it, the better it is for the body to absorb and to digest. But really, when you find that you're experiencing, for me, I cannot touch any sugar at all. I cannot touch any sugar during my peri, right? Because the sugar, it makes me so drowsy and tired. I get brain fog. That brain fog is where you can't really focus.
Yeah.
You're extremely tired. Oh, what was I doing again? Where did I put that key again? I don't remember where I put it. Like really, it can be that severe, and you're wondering what's happening. So this is the time that I would check those levels, right? So for us, I would look at your estrogen level, your basic hormone levels to see where you're at. Secondly, we will talk about again history, your men's history, your mom, your sisters, to see where you're at, because that's going to give us a ballpark figure of where you are with menopausal, perimenopausal, premenopausal, to see how we can mitigate some of those symptoms, even if you needed a little bit more support with some herbal treatments, because there are some herbal treatments that can help. But we look at the thyroid function, of course. We look at the adrenal activities to make sure everything's working okay for you. We look at your period pattern, and we talk about nutrition. Again, avoiding sugar, all the refined stuff. If it's refined, get rid of it. Get rid of the refined. Get rid of the flour. Get rid of the bread. Get rid of the sugar.
You're cursing at me. You're cursing at me.
I know. Get rid of the caffeine. So that will really help mitigate some of those symptoms, because sugar thrive, or everything else, inflammation thrive on sugar. So we want to really help with that. Exercise, 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 exercise. You would not believe how much exercise really help boost your estrogen, boost your endorphins. So during that time, if you start even walking, brisk walk, 30 minutes, increase, again, really your activity will really give you some energy. But think of the chemical process of it. You get an increased level of endorphins that's going to help pacify, mitigate those symptoms. And if those were the two modalities that I would choose, those would be the two big ones that I really stress a lot, is you look at your nutrition and your exercise. You would find that if you do brisk activities, like for example, when I run, for example, especially before, right? The week before, I was talking about those symptoms. When I run, I get a rush, Deb, of energy, a rush of endorphins. And even sometimes I find that I may even get to a point where I'm really extremely emotional, but it's like you're blowing off steam as you exercise. You're blowing off the steam. You're feeling much better. So exercise. And then naturally, for the menopausal, when we do have the hot flash, or to mitigate the menopausal, there's Primrose Oil. I'm not prescribing, but I'm sharing information. But Primrose Oil, and if you're interested, that is something that you can discuss with your GYN, that you can truly incorporate in your regimen, everyday regimen, to help mitigate those symptoms if you have it really, really bad. That some women will say, I have those raging symptoms, and they'll put their eyes like this. I have these raging symptoms. And I would say, well, if you have the raging symptoms, then for sure the Primrose Oil can help. Now, back to the pap smear, though. I'm sorry, I want to stress this point. Back to the pap smear. Now, sesame seed will also help. Sesame seed can also help mitigate some of those symptoms. Chia seed can also mitigate those symptoms. However, because sesame and chia can stimulate estrogen, if you have not had a pap smear, if you have gynecological issues, if you have had an abnormal pap smear, or if you have a breast lump, I don't encourage high intake of sesame and chia. I'm going to repeat that. I don't encourage sesame and chia if you have had an abnormal pap smear, because they stimulate estrogen, and estrogen feeds tumor cells.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Estrogen feeds tumor cells and it can potentiate our trouble versus making it better. So again, make sure that we are on board with our pap smears and mammograms and everything else. And then of course, calcium, Deb, calcium, vitamin D. I don't want to remiss that those are two important ones. Calcium and vitamin D are very important, because when we're hitting that area, we're also losing bone mineralization. And calcium, we need calcium to help to get those, we need calcium to get back into the bones for strengthening. We need vitamin D to help bring that calcium back into the bones. We need that vitamin D with the immune system, because the vitamin D, it plays 5% of our genetic function. 5% is a lot. So if your vitamin D is depleted, okay, especially us living in North America, we have no sun. We have nothing in this area. We've all been indoors. Vitamin D plays 5% of our genes. So it behooves us to get that vitamin D level checked to make sure we're optimal, because it has to do a lot with our mood. A lot of it it's a steroid hormone that stimulates those hormones to work. So if that vitamin D is not optimal, we're going to feel unoptimal. We're not going to feel well. We're going to feel the symptoms of poor immunity. We're going to feel the symptoms of depression, chronic pain. I forgot to tell you about the pain. Chronic aches everywhere, muscle cramping. We're going to have those symptoms if our D is not up to par. So the vitamin D and the calcium is extremely important around that time for us as well.
Wow. There's so much to talk about when it comes to women's health. And I don't think we've done a really good job of talking about it, of, the women who are in their 50s and 60s, preparing the women in their 30s and 40s for what's to come, because it happens and it comes so fast. And you're like, what is happening to my body? So, these conversations are so important to just know what to expect, what those changes are going to be, and then how we can mitigate some of them. My family laughs at me because there's a certain time of month that, my husband's like, I'm going to get a hotel room. I'm just getting away from you. And it's bad. I know that it's bad. It gets horrible. But it's almost like out of my control. Like, I don't even know how to stop it, but I think there is a way to stop it. I think there's a way to know your body, understand what's happening, and then take the necessary steps so that your family does not want to run away from you at a certain time of the month. So really, really good stuff. And so let's talk about, we talked a lot about the physical health, right? The things that we need to do to keep our bodies intact and healthy. Let's talk a little bit about mental health. There's so much talk about mental health these days. I mean, I think COVID has done a good job of bringing our mental statuses to the forefront. So talk, a little bit. I know that you're not a mental health practitioner. However, you're in this holistic space where, you try to treat the entire person. So how do you go about treating someone's mental health or helping them figure out where they are mentally or emotionally?
Deb, I tell you,
we need a whole hour for that, right?
I have to tell you, I am an educator just like you. So you'll find that information might be, I'm never to the point with the answers, because I like to give a little bit of education for us to really get to the gist of it.
Yeah.
The first thing that I really want to say is really just the holistic modality, the mind, physical, and the spiritual, they all intertwine. We can't leave one out and think that I'm doing great by running, and then I don't have time for me to really clear my mind, or I'm doing great, I'm eating, but don't have time for me to pray, because you'll be out of balance. You will find that your equilibrium will shift, and you'll find that you're not functioning optimally. And so the mental health, our mind is so interconnected with the body. And we don't talk about that enough, because we call the gut, the science is saying that now our gut is our second brain.
Wow.
Because there's so much that is connected from the gut. When we talk about the gut, we're looking at the whole digestive tract, from from your stomach down to the small intestines, down to the colon, specifically, we're talking about those areas, how it's interrelated with how we think, how we feel, how we sleep, how we respond, how we speak. So the mind, is very important for us to really think about, again, what am I putting into my body?
Yeah.
What am I putting into my body? Not only putting into your body what you're watching, right? Because we teach that what we watch affects the way we think, what we read affects the way we think, what we listen to have subliminal messages. And again, it alters the way we think. Our stressors, we talk about our external environment stressors, the work that we do, our workload, the children. Can I deal with this today? Can I not deal with it? Fear, right? The unknown, all of those things, they affect the way we think. And then the part we don't talk about is what we eat also affects the way we think, because the big chunk of our thought process has also to do with what's happening in our gut. Within that gut, we have what we call a microbiome, and that microbiome, which exists in our gut system, has different cellular activities that helps to promote mental health.
Wow.
We have a part in our brain that also develops the serotonin, but we also have a big chunk, 60 to 70% of our small intestine. In that area, we have serotonin also that develops within the small intestines, within our gut, that relates to the brain function. And so the brain, again, not only do we have communication with the nerve, right? We have a vagus nerve that comes from the brain that stems all the way down to our spine, that goes down into the lower base of our lower back. And that big nerve, again, spreads apart to communicate, and back and forth signals, the synapses share information. But we think about, well, maybe not, right? But for true, it is a fact. What am I putting into my body? How am I taking care of that body? The food that I'm eating will affect the gut. If I have chronic constipation, if I have chronic irritable bowel, are toxins living in my system longer than they should? Do I have a normal bowel movement pattern? Yes, that has to do with how you think. Because if you are constipated, trust me, not only are you going to have acne, skin issues, stressors, your mind will get foggy. Your mind will become foggy, will not be able to think properly, because again, you have toxins that are accumulating in your bloodstream now that can't exit. So I said a lot of information. What can I do to maintain it? We need to really check what we're eating. Again, back to nutrition. Secondly, we know prayer is the above umbrella, right? But we'll talk about prayer afterwards. But secondly, the second biggest thing, again, the research is showing, is exercising again. Exercise, again, mitigates on that mental health. The research, it's astounding when we're looking at chronic depression, chronic bipolar disorders, chronic anxiety associated with what's going on right now. The studies are showing that 20 to 30 minutes, again, of exercise boost your endorphins. Okay, that's going to lower the cortisol level. Not only lowers the cortisol level, increase your ability to sleep better at night. Because now lack of sleep, again, increase your cortisol, increases irritability, increases restlessness, increase anxiety, and it becomes a cycle. The body never really have time to rejuvenate, recuperate, and rest.
Yeah, which is how God designed it, right? God designed us so that our bodies can heal itself when it's getting the proper nutrition, proper rest, and all of that. Fascinating. And I think, mental health, emotional health is something that deserves its own time, because it's such a huge topic. There's so much going on mentally and emotionally. And we've heard since we were young, that women are emotional creatures. And so I think our mental health, it's just different. It's just different for a woman. We cannot end our time together without talking about our spiritual health.
Mhm.
What do you do, Hurleen, to maintain your connection with God, to stay spiritually fit? Because I know you stay physically fit, hips on the move. You're running, you're hiking, you're doing all of these things to maintain your physical health. But how do you stay spiritually healthy?
Spiritually and mentally healthy. Spiritually and mentally healthy. But yes, I agree, Deb, with the mental health. Let me just say this too, because we're women we're habit creatures and we're caretakers, we're care providers. We don't take care of ourselves. We don't take that time out for us to really digress and have that moment to ourselves. So as caretakers, care providers, educators, teachers, mothers, we wear all these different hats. But when do we really take time for ourselves? So that's a question for all of us to really think about when it comes to the mental health piece. Spiritually, what do I do to maintain? I fast. I have a regimen. I wake up early morning. I'm a before dawn person. So I wake up early. Normally I wake up early and do my devotional and spend time with God before sunrise, whatever the time that is. If it's winter, whatever, before sunrise, I'm up spending my quality time with the good Lord. And then apart from my personal time, it's my community service. I find that I am balanced when I'm called to do God's work. When I'm called to do God's work, I normally don't say no, because I find that it's a privilege for me to bask in His presence and to be able to offer a gift that is not even warranted to receive. So I always say, here I am, Lord, use me as you see fit. And that helps me to maintain. And then family, of course, at night, we do have our family worship where the children and I, the family and I, we get together, we have our family time together. But for me, I think the biggest thing is the me time. While I'm hips on the moving, I use my hips on the moving to talk to God, to really connect with nature and talking to God. I find that really helps me physically and mentally to clear my mind, to clear my thoughts, to regroup, to rebalance. It is a time that I spend in nature, reflecting and healing. And I find my nature time is very healing spiritually, physically for me, and emotionally for me. It works in all aspects.
Yeah. There's something about being out in the fresh air early in the morning. That's when I like to get out and do my walking. And I'm usually listening to gospel music, or I spend that time praying and talking to God. And there's something about it. When I don't start my day that way, my day is completely thrown off. Even if it's a 1 mile walk, whatever time I can get out, it makes a really, really huge difference. And I so agree with you that the spiritual wellness, the mental wellness, the physical wellness, they're all tied in together. So as we get ready to wrap up, there might be a woman, whatever age, listening and watching us right now, and she doesn't feel well. She's not sure what it is, but she knows that she's off. Some of us, I know I've been there. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm off. Speak to that woman. What are some of the steps she should take to get to a place of feeling well again?
Yeah, great question, Deb. The first thing that I would encourage is get help. Don't try to diagnose by yourself. Call someone, call a practitioner, call a doctor, get help. And especially if you're forever 21, always good to have those baseline, because I would say, go ahead and go for a walk. I don't know what I'm working with. So it's always good to have a baseline study of some basic blood work, like a red blood cells, making sure there's no anemia, your chemistries, your thyroid function, cholesterol, vitamin D, always check vitamin D. So first is get help, get a physical exam, get assessed, and let's look at some basics. And then from there, if all is well, and then so now we're going to look at the holistic modalities, those lifestyle modalities. Let's look at your nutrition, your sleep pattern, your spirituality. What are your behaviors? What are you in line with those behaviors? Do you have a prayer time? And then I would say, get in accountability. Talk to someone. Don't go through it alone. Accountability is none of us is going to make it to heaven alone. Yeah. Accountability is important because that person can help you pray. They might see something you don't see. They may have gone through it. They may have some advice that they can share. So find someone. Don't deal with it alone. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, beautiful. So Hurleen, tell our listeners and our viewers how they can get in touch with you. I know that you have the Bix Wellness Center. Do you travel? I know you do all types of wonderful things. You do infusion therapy and all types of things. And so, maybe there's someone in Jersey who might be interested in learning more about your services and whether or not you can be a resource for them. How can folks get in touch with you?
Thanks, Deb. But before I do that, I'm sorry, can I just say one more thing? I'm sorry. Sure. I know we said a lot today, but here's the punchline, ladies. There's a punchline. I don't know if Deb's going to get into that or not, but I wanted to say it in case because it came to my mind. I didn't want to forget. The punchline today is as Deb just says, number one, if you don't feel well, what do you do? Secondly, the punchline is whatever age bracket you fall in, because we talked about those age brackets. The punchline is we really want to evaluate the physical, the spiritual, the emotional, and the psychosocial health. We want to make sure that we're in balance, we're in tune. And if some part of it is is not in tune, or we have what we call a disequilibrium, if we need to really look at that, we need to then check what we need to do and get on it immediately. Let's nip it in the bud. Let's not wait until later on. Well, maybe I'll feel better. Maybe it'll come. If you need to address it immediately. Don't wait. Okay. How do you find me? Yes. Thanks, Deb. Our practice is my practice is in Stroudsburg. I am licensed. I'm board certified in Pennsylvania and New York. I practice telephonic, and we also practice telemedicine as well. Yes, and I do travel. So for all of our holistic services, whether you're looking for a weekend detox cleansing or a week detox retreat, whatever it is that you're looking to have done, if you're looking to detox from, let's just say, from chronic pain medicine, we can offer that service to you. We can travel to you, or we can make arrangements for you to come to us here in the Poconos for your treatment. We provide IV infusion therapy. We provide nutrition therapy. We provide Zoom education courses for all the nutritions. And we target, again, the lifestyle modalities, all of those modalities. We don't leave one out versus another. And so our website is Bix Homes and Wellness. And we are in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Our office is located right in the heart of Stroudsburg, not too far from where Deb works. So if you're looking for Debbie, you'll find me like 5 minutes away from her.
We're very close.
Very close. And you could reach us via email at info@Bix Homes and Wellness, info@Bix Homes and Wellness.
And that's B as in boy, I as in igloo, X as in xylophone, right?
Yes. Big word. I love that word, xylophone. And I like the sound of xylophone.
Yeah.
Yes, BIXHOMESAND, wellness, WELLNES. And our phone number is 570-664-2455. We are always happy to answer any questions for you. I am a missionary before a provider. I always say that nothing comes before that.
Yeah, she loves mission. She really does. She just has a heart of service. So Hurleen, thank you. Thank you so much. Bottom line, ladies, we need to maintain our health so that we can do the work that God has called us to do, whether it's with our families, our communities, wherever it is He has called us to serve. We cannot serve at our highest capacity if we are not well. So we want us, each of us, to get well. So Hurleen, thank you so much for being here. I want to make an announcement for our women. So COTO's Women's Ministry is having a weekend, the last weekend in March, March 26th and 27th. We have something planned for Friday evening and then something planned for Sabbath. Our theme for the weekend is royalty. Daughter of the King, royalty, daughter of the King. And I'm calling on all of my ladies of COTO. I need your photos. We are going to have a photo montage during this weekend, displaying our royalty, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. So please, please, please email me a photo of yourself, your daughter, your granddaughter, all the women in your life. And you can send that email to family@cotosda.org. Again, family@cotosda.org. It's going to be a phenomenal weekend. We have some great speakers. I cannot wait to hear from them. So Hurleen, I hope you and BB can join us for that weekend, Friday evening and Sabbath. It's going to be a phenomenal program. And you and Berlin can send us your pictures too. You can be part of our photo lineup. Anyhow, thank you for spending your 3 o'clock hour with us. We just love this time that we get to spend as a family talking about issues that affect each and every one of us, whether you are male, female, young person, an older person, married, single. We try to cover all of the basics because we are family, and what happens to one of us happens to all of us. And we want to be well. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Hurleen, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Ladies of COTO, thank you for having me. This was great. Remember, self-care. God loves you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Thank you for having me again, Deb.
Oh, you're welcome. God bless.
God bless.